Let's rock and roll, baby. Get into the jazz.
Party time.
It's party time. This is number one. Get excited. Woo!
Welcome everyone to the Unconnoisseurs of Jazz. Tonight we're going to be talking about the number one album on the countdown. We're talking about none other than Miles Davis, the album Kind of Blue.
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of Blue.
Yes.
Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, from Columbia Records LP CD. Miles Davis on
Trumpet. Yep.
Yeah. Miles Davis on trumpet, Julian Cannonball Adderley on alto sax, John Coltrane on tenor sax, Bill Evans and Wynton Kelly on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Jimmy Cobb on drums. It's recorded March 2nd and April 22nd, 1959. Right out of Jazzwise Magazine. When Kind of Blue was released on the 17th of August, 1959, its celebrity was not earned overnight, as attention was focused on Ornette Coleman's The Shape of Jazz to Come, much to Davis's annoyance, and David Brubeck's Time Out, which was a huge seller, while Take 5 from its biggest selling hit, Single Jazz in History. Nevertheless, listeners discovered Kind of Blue has a depth which meant they could return to the album again and again without exhausting the music's meaning.
That's beautiful.
You hit it, baby. You hit it.
did.
Yes.
You guys have a good conversation.
Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
The other guy.
Yeah, thank you, Lily.
My dear.
Man, I got to tell you, that was so good to have Lily do the intro tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Lily, for doing that for us. We really,
Yes,
really appreciate it. It was
definitely.
such an honor to have you on the episode.
Yep.
You know, it reminds me of how we finished last week's show and having her tell us what we were going to be listening to. But it all began with her and a Christmas gift. So 3 years ago, basically this weekend, she grabbed a magazine off a shelf at Barnes & Noble's that was called The Top 100 Albums That Shook the World. I didn't know much about Jazzwise Magazine, and I definitely didn't know much about jazz. My hope and ambition was just to look at some of the albums and check them out. But Matt, here we are 3 years after, and we are on number one.
Yep.
Dad, that means that you've been with us now, what, 70-some albums?
Something
So-
like that. Yep.
This podcast turned into a triad. It's like a C, E, and G of a perfect, I guess it'd be a C and E flat because we're all minors. Minors in music. C,
Yeah.
E flat, G, the perfect triad. So this has been, what a journey, what an experience, what an opportunity to listen to some jazz
Fantastic.
with the two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking back to when we kind of first started. We had no clue what we were doing on the episode. Still, we really don't have a clue what we're doing, but we have a lot of fun doing it. I can't imagine doing the journey with anyone else in the first place. So, what an amazing feat. What an amazing accomplishment that we've made it 100 weeks and listened to as much music as we have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys bringing me along with you. It's been so fantastic to participate in this for as many episodes as I have. I feel like I've learned a lot listening to you guys banter back and forth and talk about jazz and what it means to you. So thank you very much.
Well, and you've definitely heard some good music.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
No
yeah.
doubt it.
Exactly.
No
So-
doubt it.
But tonight's a special one. It's number one. So what do you think? Well, I think we should just get right into the clips.
I cannot disagree with that. I think
right.
that we should. You know, of course, we're listening to Miles Davis on at Columbia, as we had already mentioned. And so who's going to start?
Let's start with All Blue
There you go.
All right.
at 1:30 and see what you think of that.
right. I'll stop it there.
Ah.
Uh, you don't really have to. You just wanted to. Because you like this
I
pick.
didn't want to either.
You like this pick better than the others. I know.
I like it almost as much as my pick for the night.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Talk
So,
to me,
Dad, yeah, tell us why you picked it.
I would say it's pretty obvious because there's such a sweet melody and such a great rhythm and a flow to it. The emotion that it brings out is very calming, soothing, and it doesn't push you in any direction really, but you want to join with them almost and listen deeper. And you can hear the drums and the drummer in the background and the bass player laying down his bass track. So it covers all the musicians in this short track. And I will say that almost any track that I would have chosen would have been very similar. So I think our listeners should listen to the whole album, but start obviously with All Blue, and I think they'll grow into it. I'm sure many of our listeners have already listened to this album anyway, but it's definitely a number one album.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and even though it's a blues tune, like you said, it is very inviting. Sometimes the blues shake me away. They make me blue instead of getting me out of the blues. But this one is a complete opposite. This one, like you said, it draws you in. It makes you want to sit and listen. What a great pick. What a great pick.
Yeah, it's not like melancholic at all in terms of blues and feeling blue. To me, it's not melancholic at all.
No, it's inviting.
I'm going to tell you all later about my feelings this week with it. I had a note in the magazine, it gets better with time. And the history, I think, is going to play a big part in our conversation tonight. It is 1959. And when I'll tell you all more later. I love that track, Dad. How's that?
Thank
I love
you.
that track.
All right, for me,
My magazine finally split in two.
oh no, oh
It's
no,
now like 12 pieces deep.
oh no. Well, the back half of my magazine is like that. The front half is pristine because I haven't been up there much.
Not since the beginning of time. It is, so.
That's right. So for me, my clip, I'd like to hear Freddie Freeloader and start me right about 4 minutes. And let's give me, 45 or 50 seconds. You'll hear the transition from Miles's solo into Coltrane's solo, but pay attention to the overall sound, and we'll discuss that when the clip's over. Freddie Freeloader, start me right at 4 minutes. Play me about 45 seconds.
I want to keep going. I'm shutting it down.
Okay, I made it in my notes the week that we listened to it a year ago. The solo, as good as it is, it doesn't sound like it belongs. You got Miles in there. He's chilling to the max. He's got his nice round tone coming out, and it's smooth. And then all of a sudden, he comes in, and it sounds like he's in an airport hangar, and that they've got the microphone right in his bell. It doesn't match for me. It doesn't line up. If he'd have come in a little softer maybe and then expanded into his natural tone, even with the reverb going on, they could have made it, and I'm not picking it apart. I'm just telling you what I listen to, and what I hear every time is you got the nice soft solo from Davis going on. He's not overdoing it. And then all of a sudden, Coltrane just hits you like a freight train, and there's reverb and everything else going on. For me, I loved it, but that's one thing that's really the only thing I can pick apart on the whole album, except for Miles's flubs.
Dad?
Well, I didn't track it that way, Matt, but I appreciate hearing that comment. It didn't strike me as difficult or challenging, only because I was really into Miles and his tonality. But again, coming in as a sax with Coltrane, you would somewhat expect it, wouldn't you?
I personally think that they didn't mix it properly. It's not mixed properly. You know, if you're watching a wavelength and Miles is here, Coltrane comes in and it automatically goes up here to a different level of mixing, or what's the term I'm looking for? The meter, right?
Okay.
If Miles is staying in the yellow, then all of a sudden Coltrane comes in and it goes all the way to the red. Drew, tell me why.
I'm with Dad on this. I think you've lost your mind.
Okay.
I have to play this though, because there's some elements that you're right on. Miles plays towards the ground to begin with. He always looked down, always had his horn to the ground. And if you've got your microphone level or even low, and Coltrane steps up, his microphone is in his bell. You're either over the mic or under the mic, and Coltrane steps in and is in the mic.
Okay.
So yes, there's an element of it being right. The weird thing to me is where I'm going to go with this album in this discussion tonight. I think the album is overrated. It's the simplest, easiest album ever. But when I say that, you consider the time of 59. Lily mentioned him earlier. Brubeck, Charles Mingus, and even Coltrane's Giant Steps. All of these albums are coming out, and Miles just says, so what? Let's do something very different. Let's take a step back from all this bebop stuff and just go super chill. So Coltrane's in the middle of things like Giant Steps and putting those albums together. He's Cannonball, something else. All of these other albums where they're tearing it up. And John Coltrane plays a standards blues, a 12-bar blues on this. To me, it's interesting that you two pick the only songs that are not modal songs on this. And this is where you and I and Dad start to nitpick on particulars. We've learned so much. What is a mode? What's a scale? And what's the difference between a blues tune and a modal tune? And you guys picked the only true 12-bar blues tune to highlight, whereas every other song is based on these modes of jazz. So we start to get really critiquing of the sound. So I see it on both sides. I think Coltrane just stepped up and did what he did because this is a blues. It's what we've done for 20 years now, or in his case, 10. Miles looks over and goes, well, yeah, he's going to run that sound as high and as loud as he can, so let him have it. But I also think that was Miles in general. Hey, I want y'all to do your thing. Here's what we're going to play today.
Right. But I want you to picture yourself sitting in your easy chair, listening to Kind of Blue. Got a scotch in your hand and cigars burning between your fingers, and then your Freddie Freeloader comes on, and 4 minutes and 15 seconds comes on, and it wakes you up from a little snooze that you got going on because you're comfortable.
Is that a positive or a negative?
It's a gotcha.
Yes.
One way or the other, it's a gotcha.
So it's almost, to me, that's intentional. Because I did this today. I was finished with I practiced my horn for an hour and a half. I looked at my watch, and I got like 30 minutes before it's time to drive out of the parking lot. So I put the album on again, and I'm just chilling and listening, and I'm kind of space cadetting. It's 35 degrees, 40 degrees here, and bam, all of a sudden I go, wait, what? Oh, I know I was in tune with the track. and then it snaps. And you go, oh, wait, where am I at? Should I rewind this and listen to how we got here? So there's that moment that maybe that's a positive thing.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't know.
I just wanted to highlight it on my clip. So thanks for playing my clip.
Here's the fact of the matter. It's freaking John Coltrane, baby. I'll let you play as loud as you want.
True. That's true. But to me, it didn't fit the mood. That particular section right there did not fit the mood.
Yeah.
And I'm being very, very particular. You guys know us well enough. If you've been following us, been watching us, you know we're not this particular on any other album. And just so everyone knows, Drew and I were not huge Miles Davis fans when we started this journey.
No.
We would ride the fence between love and dislike strongly on Miles Davis, and some of the Davis albums that we've heard we didn't like so much. But to come 100 weeks later, you ask me who the greatest jazz person is, and Miles may come to the first of my tongue.
I like how you didn't say trumpeter. Who the jazz person was.
Who the most influential person in jazz is, and it's going to be Miles Davis for sure.
Then I'm going to go ahead and throw this out, Matt. I was trying to save this for later. Early on, we had a comment. This was back at number 91 or 92 that said, hey, if you guys really want to understand jazz, just be done and go to Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Mm-hmm. I would be sorely disappointed had we just done that. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, if I classified this as the jazz album staple, the gold letter jazz, I would have poo-pooed anything else that came out, and I wouldn't have appreciated it for what it was. So to me, that's why I said a moment ago, I think it's overrated. If this is your gold standard of what jazz should be, you neglect somebody truly like Cannonball and something else. You throw out the bath and the baby at the same time with Gregory Porter because it's not the same. You'd never understand Mexican Green from Tubby Hayes or how brilliant he was or Dizzin' Bird. So
I appreciate the comment. However, I don't test drive the Escalade first.
No.
Because then everything else is not the Escalade and you don't want it.
Yeah.
And you go drive that Ford Bronco from 99 that's white and it drives like you're riding on bareback on a horse, and then that's not good enough. You want that Escalade every time. So I appreciate the comment. That's just not the way that I wouldn't have recommended. Just start with Kind of Blue. No. Finish with Kind of Blue as the gold standard, but don't start with Kind of Blue because then everything else is subpar.
Yeah.
So a side question then, based on our current college football ratings, would you give this a Heisman Trophy? Or would you put it second, third, fourth, maybe not even in the top 10?
If I had to say that it was just based on the album, strip away the artist, strip away the historical impact, strip away the history, you'd go, it's okay. Mm-hmm. When you get into who it is, the history of it, when you get into, in order to understand what the modal jazz is, you have to understand where they're coming from with the bebop and the fast changes and the quick progressions into, we're going to play in a key. Everything's played on the piano in the white notes. D Dorian is a C major scale, and that's what we're going to play this next tune in. Everything on the white key. Well, what does that mean for a jazz unconnoisseur? So I'd have said 7 out of 10.
I would say it would be in the running for Heisman. There's a couple other albums, in my opinion, there's a couple other albums that would run a very, very close race with Kind of Blue.
Out to lunch. Time
Time Out.
Blues and the Abstract Truth.
Okay.
So yeah, out of 30 college football teams, we've got 45 Heisman trophies available. Where do you put Kind of Blue? In the top 10?
It's a good question. Yes, it's definitely in the top 10. Yes. Hey, before we go too much further and get deeper in the woods, you haven't played your clip yet. I'm anxious to hear your clip.
I got a really
Let's hear So What.
I got a really important thing for you to know. So what?
So what? Yep.
I was joking about it because it is D Dorian and E flat Dorian. These are both modes that I began to understand as a trumpet player. The impact of this album is that Miles said to the boys, we're going to do this. And he threw out the chords that they could play on for solos. This album was based on as simple a melody as possible, just go freestyle and play. They basically wrote songs on the spot, each one of these solos. So what? Let's have some fun.
Do we even have to talk, or can we just listen all night? I just let that play, and we just talk over.
That's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, Matt, I would just keep it playing and just listen to the song.
Yeah.
I had a thought earlier in the week. I was going to ask you guys on that track to bring your trumpets and play that back and forth. Da-da, 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 da-da. You guys could have done that. It would have been, but I didn't do it, unfortunately. I really meant to do that, and then things just spun out of control, but that would have been so cool for you guys to have your trumpets there. Da-da, da-da.
Yeah.
It's honestly really interesting to look at the sheet music for this, because you play like 4 notes for the whole melody. You've got the bass that plays and then the horns that respond, the bass that plays and the horns that respond. I think one of the brilliances of this album, and the reason I wanted to hear So What, is it is iconic through and through, period. When you hear that bass start to play, jazz fans or not, you're going to know that Miles Davis is about to play. This is probably one of the most iconic albums out there. Obviously, it's a big seller. It has shaken the world for millions of different reasons. However, the simplicity of it is understated. How do you make anything easier? You got 2 half notes. Be-doop. Be-doop. If you just listen to the trumpet, be-doop. Be.
Okay. But like you said, it doesn't have to be hard to be good.
No.
You don't have to play a gajillion notes.
No.
I'm surprised Coltrane didn't try and play a gajillion notes on all of his solos, but he put it in 2nd gear instead of 6th gear, and brought it down to a reasonable level so that it could be chill. You know, I made some notes this week. You sent out that video, and I don't want to reference the Ted Gioia video too much, because I want you to stay here on our channel. But when you're done with this video, go watch Ted Gioia's video on Kinda Blue.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of good points in both directions. I just wrote down, is it the greatest of all time? Does it deserve, like you, Dad, the Heisman Trophy? Does it deserve the Heisman Trophy? Is it the greatest of all time? I can argue both ways. I love it so much because I don't want it to end, because it is such a soothing, calming, and you don't get overwhelmed by it, and you don't want it to end.
No.
But on the same fact, I pick out the flubs every single time, and I chuckle inside. Why did he leave them in there? Why didn't he do a retake on his flubs and clean it up? Maybe they did. Maybe they did 50 takes on some.
No.
Oh,
See, that's
okay.
Miles, though. When you walked in with Miles, you were going to get it done and go home. And I was reading this today. Miles got a big cut out of this, but every other musician got day rate as a union player. And it struck me reading that to Dad's question several episodes ago. Why did they always change band members? You know, you think about Need to Breathe, and they've been playing with the same group for a long time. They may have had a few change along the way. You think of Pink Floyd or Rush, for example. You start to put these bands together, and that's the way it has been. But Coltrane, Cannonball, PC, all of these guys got union day rate. They got paid for 2 days of union work for the 9 hours they spent in the studio. While Miles got the big contract, Miles was known to walk in, cut it, and go home. He did not want second takes, retakes, 8 takes later to see if we can get it perfect, because the energy that came from the first priority take. That's why I think he left those. Do you call them flubs? Or are they really just intentional?
Dad, can you hear them when you listen to the music? Can you hear the...
I heard a couple of them, yes. To me, it didn't distract. To me, it recognized, even as proficient and as professional as he is, this guy can make mistakes, and I can appreciate that. Okay, so
Coachability.
he's human.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but jazz doesn't have...
Baby, dive head first into it.
It does not have to be perfect, and that's one thing that I've learned on our journey. It doesn't have to be perfect to be good, because a lot of it's not perfect.
It's raw. It's emotional.
Yes. Okay, so the other thing that he referenced and that I wanted to bring up in discussion, this was the dream team of musicians. You know, you got Miles, you got Coltrane, you got Cannonball, you got Paul Kelly and on the bass, and Jimmy Cobb on the drums. This is the dream team. This is the Michael Jordan and the Olympic team that they took to the Olympics that year with Scottie Pippen, and who else was it? Who else was
Bird, Larry Bird.
Bird. I mean, this is the superstars. So that's the other thing that makes the album interesting, is any one of them could have said, no, it's my time to shine. It's my time to shine. It's my time to shine. Yet they all didn't do that. Then they all did what they needed to do. Now, here's another question I have for you, just to ponder. Was this Cannonball's give back to Miles for Miles playing second chair on something else? Because Miles didn't play sideman on many other albums except for Cannonball Adderley's Something Else. And it's Cannonball's album, you know, and Miles, you know, Cannonball. And then down here, Miles Davis. So do you think they made some kind of deal like, oh, I'll do this album for you, but you got to come do an album for me? I don't know. I'm just pondering. I'm just posing a question, because to me, Something Else is the next logical choice to go to after you're done listening to this album, because it's almost a continuation, even though it was done a previous months before Kind of Blue. It's just a continuation of the whole.
But then you'd have to ask about Giant Steps too, because you're going to see Paul Chambers and you're going to see.
But you're not going to see Miles on Giant Steps.
No, not on Giant. But you are going to see from 59 to 60, 58 and 57 as well. You know, this is a callback to Bill Evans playing with Miles earlier. Again, what artists do you see at what time playing with who? And honestly, if I've got a good album and a good vibe with y'all, why not do another one? And hey, I got a new record label with Columbia. Why don't y'all come over here? And for Miles, it was an opportunity to introduce several of these musicians to Columbia, which they've been wanting anyways. So I think the collab is all it was.
Okay, so it wasn't a payback for Something Else then.
But if you're on my album, what's the likelihood I'm going to ask you to be, or you're going to ask me to be on yours? And if we can jive on Something Else, if we can jive on all the other
Wait,
Coltrane,
was that something else, or was that If We Can Jive on Another Album?
something else by Cannonball Adderley.
Something else.
If we can jive on these, why can't we jive on something else? And I think it's important to note that I think this is Bill Evans in the background that makes all of this possible. And
Yeah.
without reading too much into it, Bill didn't play the root notes either. And so I want to go back now to Herbie Hancock in later years when Miles tells Herbie to stop playing the butter notes. Well, Bill Evans never played any butter notes. Then he just asked Herbie, why don't you hear something different? And so to me, this is the history and the historical impact of this album. This is what makes it so great, is that from here, how many lessons did Cannonball walk away with? You know, Coltrane walked away with playing in modal jazz. Bill Evans is already, they're all established, but now they're really deeply praised for their abilities. So was it payback, or was it just being like, come on, dude, let's play? I mean, can Philip come out and play? How many times did we knock on somebody else's door to say, can you come out and play?
I know. But for me, especially this week, and we'll talk about our weeks in music coming up in a little bit, but it was just a logical step just to go right into something else right after this album, because generally I didn't like what iTunes picked for me after the album got done playing.
Yeah.
And I wanted more. Give me more. Yeah. But Gary Burton noted, and I found this quote interesting, and then, yeah, it wasn't just one tune that was a breakthrough. It was the whole record. When a new jazz style comes along, the first few attempts to do it are usually kind of shaky. Kind of blue, they all sound like they're fully into it. And that's a quote from Gary Burton, who I respect a lot. You know, they all sound like they're fully engaged into it. So to answer my own question, then no, it wasn't payback. For my, it wasn't Cannonball coming and paying back, Miles. It was, let's do this.
Mutual respect and love.
Full steam ahead.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dad?
I'm glad you asked the question. It gave you guys opportunity to engage in conversation about the importance of this album. So, yeah.
Well, it's just like the three of us. Hey, man, Dad worked out really well to be on the channel. Why don't we make sure he's on the channel? And going back, hey, Matt, why don't we just start recording this thing? I've had several people ask how they could listen to this conversation. Well, okay, let's record it. Hey, I'm going to be at home when Phil's in town. Well, let's get Dad and let's get Phil on. Hey, man, we've jived together, and no disrespect to Phil, but 8 hours difference for me and 9 for you. It's tough to have those conversations with little brother. But Dad's right there, so, hey, man, it hits. It works. Why not just keep rocking it? Now what?
So do I get paid as a sideman?
You get paid union rates.
Okay.
You get a portion of all of our proceeds for every episode.
So that means you owe me $42.15.
I want my $2. $2.
That's how much you get paid. All right. What do you say we move on to the slideshow? Continue the discussion.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I mean, the discussion's just about over. So, yeah.
I mean, yes and no.
Talk to
lots
me
of
about your slideshow.
I couldn't help but put a number one, top of the heap, a number one, the finale, the finito, the big cheese. This is number one. This is epic for us. So again, I just want to say thank you for joining us on our journey here. We're not done with our journey by any means, just because we've reached number one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Whatever you do, do it to jazz. You know that's what we do. I've been saying it for the last 100 weeks. Whatever you do, do it to jazz. You're going to hear in our weeks in music coming up in just a little bit. That's what we do. We listen to jazz all week long. Once again, if you're just joining us, we are talking about Miles Davis, Kinda Blue from 1959, the most epic album in the magazine. I went ahead and put a picture of the artwork. We couldn't finish this journey without talking about the artwork for this epic album. It's classic Miles. I mean, it's just classic. And Drew, this picture actually really does remind me of something that that you could do. Is it hard to get that black background in there?
Oh, no, I've always had stage white backgrounds for portraits, but on stage with the kids, that's real easy.
Yeah. What do you think, Dad? What do you think of the artwork?
I love it. Yeah, I just really appreciate it. Yeah, he's definitely playing into it right there. So yeah.
Well, and it gives the whole overall vibe of the album anyways. You know, if it was fireworks and explosions and machine guns on the album, you wouldn't know what the album was. But this reads to me leather chair, fireplace, scotch and a cigar. That's what it reads to me. So, all right, cool. Let's move on to the next slide, the jazz style of the day. Of course, I skipped this style in the alphabet for this very reason, so we could talk about it tonight. The jazz style for the day is modal jazz. Modal jazz, as pioneered by Miles Davis, among others, is characterized by the use of modes such as Dorian and Ionian and Mixolydian as the primary organizing element of the tune. So again, if you don't know what a mode is, just Google what the Ionian mode is, and you'll get a great explanation. The Dorian mode, Drew, you've mentioned that a couple of times tonight.
Yeah.
So
second degree of any major scale.
Yep.
And what I find interesting, and I'll also bring it back up when you talk about the influences. One of the biggest influences in going to modes was somebody who we have already covered, and that was none other than George Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Their relationship, Miles and George, and George's concept, which later became the Lydian chromatic concept, a book that he had written. George Russell had wrote the book on just this idea, and Miles picked that up from him. So nobody was really playing it at the time, and Miles said, why not? So I look at that and go, man, this is what 100 weeks of studying jazz has done to me. When you look at modal jazz, you go, why did Miles try it? And I'm thinking about George Russell. Got a ticket? Need a wicket? Let's get on moving.
Get to the wicket.
Get to the wicket. And so some of that inspiration came from his concepts. And by the way, for all you listeners, if anybody has an original copy or a reprinted copy of the chromatic concept from George Russell, it was a Lydian chromatic concept, LCC book. Hook a brother up, because they're impossible to find and they're not in print anymore, probably in dumpsters across the world, because nobody really understood what he was doing.
I was going to say, if he wrote the book on that, he's way up here. We're still an ant underneath his shoe about what we know about jazz. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next slide, where you can get it. Of course, Kinda Blue can be found on all the major streaming platforms. We at the Unconnoisseur, though, would prefer that you go to your local record store and buy a brand new copy of Kinda Blue on vinyl. Buy the vinyl, man.
Buy the vinyl.
It's awesome. I did put a quote at the bottom of that slide by Miles Davis. I know what I've done for music, but don't call me a legend. Just call me Miles Davis. Is that what you wanted, Alfred?
Is that what you wanted, Alfred?
My best Miles impression wasn't very good, but
sounds okay.
Stick to the trumpet, Matt. Stick to the trumpet.
Yeah, thanks. It's a great quote, though. You know, and the other quote that he did is, "A legend is an old man with a cane."
Yeah.
You know, I'll never forget that quote by Miles. So don't call me a legend, because I'm not old, and I don't walk with a cane. But we've talked about this in several other of our discussions about Miles, how if the music is stagnant, it's never moving forward, and it's just going to stay the same. And I think that's a problem with most jazz musicians is they wanted to stay in their style, and they never were willing to change, with the exception of a few. Okay.
Yeah.
Miles, he was all about it. He didn't want to be stagnant. So I actually love the quote.
And I was reading something this morning about, and I forget who picked it up. It may have been Jimmy Cobb that picked up the first press of the album and ran over to Miles's house. Said, "Man, we got it. Let's listen to it." Nah. that was yesterday. We're done.
Yeah.
Moving on along. And so Miles had that attitude of, that was already in the can. Let's move right along. What's next?
What's next?
And I want to go back to my passion earlier with this conversation, Matt. If that's my attitude of, oh, that was cool, we recorded it, let's move forward, would he ever cut for a retake? He did for Gil Evans, but those were special treatments.
Yeah, but those were Gil's albums. So yeah, he would have had to. You working for
Gil. But
working for somebody else.
With Miles is that if it's done and in the bag and it's time to move forward to the next cool phase of jazz, do you do a bunch of retakes? What's done is done. Let's go forward. So, anyways, I think that about the legend of him. You know, don't call me a legend. A legend is going to be what happens in the next 5 years when I change jazz again, and in another 5 years when I really shake it up. And in 1970, when I blow the world off of jazz music, when we go full electronic, and then in 81, when I make my comeback and I'm man with the horn playing one note for the entire song and people are oogling and ogling about, then you can call me a legend. Have Wallace Rooney sit in to play when I can't hit the high notes. Now I'm a legend. So,
Dad, what are your thoughts? Is he a legend?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And more than in his, obviously more than in his own mind. There are those who are legends in their own mind. But for jazz and jazz history, I would say yes. He's at the top of the heap.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah.
I would say so
I'm
too.
curious, Matt, in the next few slides to see how you get to 6 degrees of Miles.
Well, I'll tell you when I get there. I'll tell you when I get there. Let's move on to the next slide. This year in history. Of course, this is 1959. I've done several other slides in 59, so I wanted to find all new facts for 59. I didn't make any of them up, but these are different facts from any other slide that I've done. The MS Hans Hedtoft meets the same fate as the Titanic for the same reason in 1959. Hedtoft hit an iceberg and sunk in 1959. I found it interesting, so I put it on the slideshow. Who would have thunk that the Titanic met that fate in 38, and then in 59 another ship is going to meet the same fate? So anyway,
did you say who would have thunk that it would have sunk?
Who would have thunk it was going to sunk? Yeah, I would not eat them on a boat. I would not eat them with a goat. The Jupiter AM-18 launches 2 primates, Miss Abel and Miss Baker, into space in 1959. The Jupiter AM-18 rocket. So I found it cool. I found it interesting. So I highlighted that in 59. CBS's 30th Street Studios is where this album is recorded in 59. And it's funny because I wasn't even looking at the jazz history in 59 when that fact came up. So they specifically talked about Miles Davis recording at the 30th Street Studio as part of the year in history in 1959, not even on the Jazz in History site. Ronnie Scott's Jazz Clubs opens up in Soho, which is a small little suburb of London. So it's pretty cool that the club opens up the same year that Kind of Blue comes out. So Ronnie Scott's in Soho. Frank Sinatra wins Album of the Year at the 2nd Annual Grammy Awards. I just found it interesting. And thank you so much for the comment. It was last week. I made an incorrect statement on the year in history. It was Frank Sinatra Jr. that was born in 44, not Frank Sinatra. So thank you for correcting me, Ian 79658, or yeah, it's close. Anyways, let's say in this year in history, Time Out, Bags and Train, and Blue Soul all come out this year as well. Time Out from Brubeck, Bags and Train from Milt Jackson and John Coltrane, and then, of course, Blue Mitchell's Blue Soul. These are some of the other albums that came out in 59. So we've covered Time Out. We didn't cover Bags and Train or Blue Soul, but, man, Time Out, banging for sure. Billie Holiday, Sidney Bechet, and Minor Hall all pass away this year. So Billie Holiday passed away in 1959. I know, lost 3 good ones. However, Bill Ware, who was a vibraphonist, Joe Locke, another vibraphonist, and Stan Jordan are born this year. So lose 3 and we get 3. Not that they're the only three that died, and not that those are the only three that are born. Those is just what I highlighted. So, all right, let's move on to the timeline slide. Again, these are fresh facts. We've covered Davis a couple of other times on our journey, and I just wanted to highlight a few other things. In 1926, of course, he's born. In the 50s is when he's really focused on his hard bop era. You can tell in the albums that he plays on in the 50s, the hard bop and the way that he plays. The 60s is when he kind of moves into the Gil Evans orchestral phase with Miles Ahead, plus 19. What a beautiful album that was in the 60s. The 70s, he moves into the electric jazz with Scooby-Doo. And then in 1991, he passes away. So just some phases. We've done other facts on Miles before, and I just wanted to cover something else besides just random facts.
I know it's going to be hard to put in the dots between and from birth to passing, especially with Miles, because you miss so many little bullet points along the way, because his life was just peppered with, and then he did, and then he did, and then he did, and then he did, because that hard bop era, I think about him and Diz. I was reading again, Parker
Yeah.
Diz, and Diz wouldn't make it, so Miles gets to be the lead trumpet on the crew that night. His time with the big band before that, and being able to tour with guys that introduced him to Diz and Bird. Diz and Bird. And then you go into what did he do in the 80s? With
Right.
Bill Evans, a saxophonist, and it wasn't electronic anymore per se, but it was definitely 1980s music, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, his timeline had to have been tough. Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, for sure.
The orchestral jazz, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, those albums, believe it or not, hit me pretty hard in the first place. Miles Ahead was an amazing album. Not that I think it deserves to be number one, but I'm glad it made the list. I'm glad we were forced to listen to it. So, okay, let's move on to the information slide, and I will finish my portion of the slideshow for this very last episode on the top 100.
Wow.
That shook the world. The influences, those are hard to change from fact to fact. So I put Elwood Buchanan, who was his trumpet teacher, Joseph Gustat. I chose Bill Evans this time as a third influence. Drew, you talked about the other influence of George Russell. Thank you. Bill Evans had a huge impact on this album, on Kind of Blue. So influential to Miles for sure. So I couldn't help but just but put his name on the list. I didn't mean to leave him off. So discography, that's kind of hard to change as well. 60 studios, 46 compilations, and then 39 live CDs. I mean, holy smokes, 39 live. That's a lot of concert footage to listen to.
Yeah.
So, but I can't wait to tackle that one day. The genre that I got listed for Miles, you could just about pick anything but Dixieland, and Miles would fit into the category. So jazz for sure, hard bop for sure, modal jazz because mainly he created it or used it wisely first, and then post bop. I mean, literally, besides Dixieland and ragtime, I think he's played every other version of jazz in his genre in the first place. So the list would be a whole slide if I had to list every genre that he played. For 6 Degrees this week, I almost thought about creating a Christmas tree with everyone that he influenced underneath him and putting him as the star on top. But again, you wouldn't be able to read the names of the people that he's influenced because they'd have to be so small to fit on the slide to make a Christmas tree. So I just left it at Miles Davis. He is the man. He's the 1 degree that so many others have shined their light on so that they could be a jazz musician. Yeah. The great time for a commercial, by the way. And we've mentioned it a few times, but we are using the Jazzwise Magazine's top 100 albums that shook the world. The list is from 2022 as our journey guide into jazz. Now, we're 100 weeks into it. We think we know a lot, but we're just still scratching the surface on what we should know about jazz. We got a lot of great things coming up on the next episodes. We'll get into that later.
Oh yeah, just because we're doing the top 100 doesn't mean we're done.
No,
I just got my feet in the sand.
Yeah, that's right.
Warm and gooey, and I'm getting ready to step out. I wonder where we go from here.
I don't know. Let's get back to a few facts, and I'll finish my slide. Few facts about Miles: hard bop in the early 50s, then modal jazz in the late 50s. So he kind of took that decade to make that transition into modal jazz. He grew up on a 200-acre pig farm in Arkansas, where he grew up fishing and hunting. I read that fact again and again. I've built the slideshows for Miles since we started the slideshows, but I probably just skimmed over that fact for some reason, and this week it just really hit me. He grew up on a pig farm, hunting and fishing. He could have taken anything else besides the trumpet. Hey, Dad, I'm going to be a hunter. I'm going to live out in the woods. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But he picked up the trumpet at age 11 and said, "Nope, music is my life."
Yeah.
So I just found the fact interesting.
Well, don't paint the picture of the pig farm. Dad was a dentist and had the 200-acre farm as
Correct.
a side hustle, if you will. But all the same, yes. Which leads this. Miles spent his days playing the sounds of animals around him. If you grow up playing noises like that on your trumpet, just replicating the noises around you.
Dad, how big was Black Lake Lodge Lake?
25 acres.
Okay.
The farm was 150 acres total.
So, okay. So just about what he grew up on.
That's a big area.
It's a big area. Yeah. 400 acres.
Yeah.
Next fact.
May I cross this off a little bit later? Let's try Alton, Illinois, 15 miles outside of St. Louis, not Arkansas.
Oh, not Arkansas. Okay, my bad. Yeah, thank you for correcting.
Wait a minute. He's to me Midwestern.
It wouldn't have been a slideshow without a mistake in it. So at least you caught it instead of Ian 7859.
Yes.
But hey, you know what? I appreciate the feedback. Any feedback I get, I appreciate, because I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, and this is jazz, baby. We're improvising the whole thing. So, Miles, let's get back to a few facts. Miles did prefer the round sound with no vibrato because that's what his instructor taught him from the beginning. Don't play with the vibrato. Play with that round. Find that round sound. And then again, the few fact, he debuted with Bird. I mean, that's where I'm finalizing my facts about Miles Davis, is that I was so blown away that we were listening to Parker and Diz, and then to come to find out that it was Miles Davis as well, just gave me that utmost more respect for Miles Davis when we discussed it on the episode. Was that Dizzy or was that Miles? Oh, it sounds like Dizzy to me. No, that was Miles.
That was Miles.
So I just had to highlight it again in the slideshow that he made his recording debut with Parker, and I don't know. I have a lot of respect. Kind of Blue. And again, this is another mistake because the album is not done entirely on modal jazz because the blues songs that we talked about. So, but the album does use modal jazz as a feature on the album. Some people call this Davis's masterpiece. For me, I don't think he peaked in '59 per se. I do love the album, but I don't think it's his masterpiece. There are so many. There's other great albums by Miles Davis. If I had to pick my favorite, it probably would not be Kind of Blue.
Pause. Dad, have you listened to other jazz albums? Miles albums?
Yes, I have. I don't remember enough to enumerate them.
Birth of the Cool.
Yes. Yeah. Listen to that.
Miles Ahead, that was the Gil Evans one.
Yes. Yeah.
Plug Nickel, which.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So I have
Bitches Brew. We've covered Bitches Brew.
Yep.
For me, that is the pinnacle for me, is Bitches Brew. That's what I'm saying. He didn't peak in 59.
So would this be Heisman Trophy? Going back to Dad's earlier question. Because here's what happened to me this week. You listen to flamenco sketches, which is on this track, and immediately I go back to Sketches of Spain.
Sketches of Spain.
And I'm like, oh, what a brilliant album. So maybe a lot of Miles's albums would be in the running for a Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
That analogy.
All right. To use that analogy, though, he wins the Heisman as a college student, but then goes on to the pros to become even greater, to become Peyton Manning.
Drum my head.
Peyton Manning.
I think the Mannings are overrated. I got to deal with their grandson chucking balls wherever he thinks it's good here in Texas.
No.
Poor kid's going to grow up to be okay. But he's never going to be his.
He's never going to be Peyton. He's not okay. He's not even going to be Eli. Let's face it. But
anyway, he ain't never going to be Archie either. So
no. All right, let me
reference, but the Mannings would have been good.
Let me finish Kind of Blue, and then we can ramble. 2002, the National Recording Registry allowed it in the archives for historical preservation. So in 2002, we're going to be able to listen to it for the next 500 years. This is a 5-time platinum album, which means that it sold over 5 million copies. The only other jazz album to ever come close to that was Time Out by Dave Brubeck, and it did 1 million in the first year. So 5-time platinum. Again, it was recorded at the 30th Street Studio in Columbia, New York. Wynton Kelly played on Freddie Freeloader and took Bill Evans' spot. I found that interesting because Coltrane, it was Miles and Coltrane played on all the tracks. Paul Chambers, the bass player, and Jimmy Cobb played on all the tracks, but Cannonball did not play on every track, and Bill Evans did not play on every track. So Wynton Kelly took.
Thus the 2 different days of recording.
Yep.
I really did find it interesting, and this is part of jazz history too. When you think about what union pay was, and I didn't know much about union pay for New York. We've talked about losing the cabaret card or being in the music's union. Clark Terry's book was the one that first introduced me to union pay. You get a set fee to go in. That's what these guys made on this album. You know, if you got $100 union pay for the day or whatever it was, you're going to get paid for the day. So they walked in, hit record, and left when they were done. And I find that interesting how today the contracts get signed and all the artists are part of the label, and you're going to make a big deal out of it and royalties in the future. Cannonball and Coltrane walked in, and the agreement was you get union day. It's a flat rate. Here you go. Let's hit record, and down the road we go. And so to have Bill Evans sitting in here first of all, but all the names on it.
That doesn't mean though that they couldn't finish the recording session and then go out and to the clubs and get paid to play.
No,
right?
Do that, yeah,
right.
Which is probably what they did. If I'm a gigging musician, that's what I want to do.
So they wrapped up the session with Davis, and then they all hit the streets and made a little extra dough,
or drank a little extra that evening.
Yeah.
If it was up with Wayne Shorter, it would have been cognac at the end of the recording.
For sure. Let me ask you this though: was this group ever together again on another recording?
Comments below.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yes, I don't know that this entire group has been. It may have been without Jimmy Cobb. It may have been without
Cannonball.
May have been without Cannonball, but I think a majority of these guys had spent time. Well, obviously Miles and Coltrane. Miles and Cannonball are on separate album. Jimmy Cobb, Bill Evans, obviously with Miles prior, but this entire group. That's a good question. Yeah,
and I think. Again, referencing back to the Joya video that I watched this morning, I think he referenced this is the superstar, the all-star group, and they got together for one recording and one recording only. You ready to rate? We're going to wrap up the discussion?
Let's rate.
Okay.
I know. I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
You know, on all of this, I've said it may have been overrated. I've talked about that, and it's not To me, it's not a bait and switch. I'm not trying to draw people in and keep you going. This is my love and hate with Miles over the last 2 years. Is it the greatest? Is it the Heisman Trophy winning album? I don't know. Did it shake the world? That I do know. Would it be the album that I would tell every person to go listen to first and say that this is what jazz is? I can't say that I would, but I also can't say that I won't. Matt, your addiction that we've talked about on the channel the last couple of weeks, this is the gateway drug to jazz. When you hear Kinda Blue, you say, yeah, there's some things in here that I may want to listen to a little bit differently. If we take that as the standard for jazz and all of the streams go different directions, to me, that's where this album sits. Is it my favorite album of the top 100? Probably not. Is it deserving of the top 5 spots? Yes, it does. Is it number 1? I don't know. But in our criteria of rating, it did check all the boxes as complete. Could I have given it all 10s for all of them? It's got it all. I gave this album a 10. Would I change my score? Today, yes, and I'd probably go back a step, or at least a half step. Listening to 100 other albums, there's so many more that just move me. And I go back to number 85, Wynton Marsalis, Black Codes from the Underground. That's when my eyes were open to what jazz music can be. So many albums since that day. You looking to verify it's number 85? There's
no,
in the corner.
Nope, I'm not. I'm looking
forward. I began to hear jazz differently. Kinda Blue wouldn't have shaken me up that way. So many great albums have come in between then. The Art Tatum that I see. I can see the cover of the albums as you turn the pages. There's so many banging albums that happen in between. I stay with my decision at a 10.
Okay. Let me go next. Oh yeah, Dad. No.
Go ahead, Matt.
For me, yes, Black Codes did it for me. That was the starting point. But number 66, The Blues and the Abstract Truth, is when I realized that this is where I wanted to be, and I wanted to listen to jazz. I wanted to listen to jazz like this from now on, and I love the album so much. I love Kinda Blue too. It's interesting because the nephews were over yesterday and we got to talking about the Unconnoisseur, and one of them asked me what he should listen to start off with, and I did not say Kinda Blue. I listed 4 other albums to start with first, not because I didn't like Kinda Blue, but because I wanted him to get another appreciation, or a different appreciation for jazz like I had. So being forced to listen to 99 other albums and then make it to Kinda Blue, I'm glad we were forced to listen to 99 other albums so that I could give this an honest rating after listening to 100 albums. And that's the funny thing. If you think, if we only listen to one other album by each of the artists, that's 200 albums. Most of the artists, we listen to 3 of their albums at least. So that's 300 albums. And some of the artists, we've covered 4 or 5 different in their collection. So not only 100 albums that we've listened to, we've probably listened to close to 600 or 700 albums on our journey. And that's not bragging. That's not saying that we know everything about jazz now. It's just the intake of the music gives us a better appreciation to be able to rate this one.
You got 50 new albums just because you gorged on Coltrane over the last couple of months.
That's true. That's true. And I do have a greater appreciation for Coltrane too. So my score for Kinda Blue is a straight 10 because it did meet all the criteria, and because the one that we added, the emotion, I'm emotional when I listen to it. It makes me feel good.
Feels so good, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, it makes me feel good when I listen to it. It's a 10. If I could go to 50, I'd go to. If I could go to 100, I'd go to 100.
Dad?
Well, I'm rather simplistic. And as I looked over the rating rubric that I have, everything was a 10. So I recognize this as a 10. I rated it at 10. There was so much in there. Not only the musicians, but the way they blended together. They played so wonderfully together. It was smooth. It was mild. It was blues, but not all blues. You have to recognize the quality of these musicians. And again, the emotion of it did stir me to say, I don't want it to end. Every one of the tracks just kind of brings you into it. And I've said that before about some other albums, that it brings you into the music and you don't want to stop. You don't want to lean into anything else. You want to stick with this album. So a 10, solid 10, all the way across the board.
Did you get a chance to play any of it for Mom this week?
No.
Okay.
Because we watched another one of her Hallmark movies the other night.
Gotcha. I was just curious to what she would say about Kind of Blue. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish what you're going to say.
No, I was done. I was going to laugh about the Hallmark movie.
Hallmark, yeah. This one holds a special place in my heart anyways. Kind of Blue holds a special place in my heart because when Delaney was a sophomore, they did a marching show to Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. And the show was called Kind of Blue to Green. And it featured songs from this album. And so you listen to the kids play it, you watch them march to it, you hear the music. Of course, your kids are in marching band, so it's a huge deal anyways. You're out there cheering for them, and you hear the music repetitively. So this album brings up a lot of good memories for me anyways of watching jazz on a marching field. You know, Mr. Klee, he was no joke, a jazz connoisseur. And I hope that someday that we can get him on the channel to talk about his influences and what got him started into jazz. So may do a little bit of that next on our journey, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So it holds a special place in my heart.
And I find it interesting that we all gave it 10s. The words of simplicity that were thrown around. It's a simple tune. I had a buddy of mine that used to say the whole purpose of French fries was just to get the ketchup down your throat. The whole purpose of these songs with Miles, the melodies, if you will, were not there to become memorable. It was just simply, I guess the other way I would say it was just simply a train car that was there just to hold the improvisation that took place. Everybody kind of bared their soul on this, which makes it seem simple. But it was far from simple in the musicianship. So the creativity and the awareness had to be high. So it will hold a special place because this is the end of the 100 journey.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered. Go ahead.
I was going to say I have 3 questions for you. I have 3 questions. Does it get better with time? Because do you think in '59 they made this album and said this is going to be it? This is the greatest album ever made.
I promise you that not any one of them was sitting there thinking, man, those dudes in 2025 are going to be talking about this album on the Unconnoisseur channel. They produced music that they thought people were going to enjoy, but not. I can't imagine it. They would. Dad, your thought? Were they thinking through that?
Oh, I don't think so. I think they were in the moment. I'm not sure they were striving for that. I think they were just enjoying the music and the connection they had and the ability to blend their musical style and their ability. I'm not sure they were that forward thinking.
Okay. Next question.
You asked the question. What's your thought, though?
My question is, I agree with both of you. I don't think they were sitting there in '59 thinking this is the greatest album of all time. But my next question is it great because it's great, or is it great because everyone likes it? And we may have discussed it a little bit, but I think it's great because it's great. because there are people on both sides. It's a polar album. Some people love it. Some people don't.
Some people love Miles, and some people think he's overrated.
Right. So I think it's great because it's a great album, and I don't think that it's gotten better over time, like a wine.
I agree. I don't think it's great, and it's gotten greater over time. I think it just kind of grew into, it grew forward
There you go.
into a great album, partly because of the musicians who were on the group, yeah, and everything they performed afterward, whether they were together or had their own groups or solos or whatever. I think it grew.
Okay. All right. My third and final question, Dad, what's new?
Hey, what a great way to get into it, man. Let's go to what's new.
What's new?
I've got something for you this time. It's by Dave Douglas, a guy with two first names. Dave Douglas is a trumpeter, composer, arranger, and the album that came out September of this year, it's called Alloy. And if you see the cover, the album cover, you can almost see the blending of fabric that, to me, has significance to the whole idea of alloy. Dave Douglas has 50 recordings. He has 500 published compositions.
Wow.
I mean, this is a guy with history and background. He's not new to jazz and trumpet. He's won a number of awards. What else am I going to say? He's co-founder of the Festival of New Trumpet Music. He was influenced by a number of people. And so we're talking about alloy. And I have this information that says, in metallurgy, an alloy is a blending of elements to create a new and stronger substance. An alloy brings together disparate particles in a unified expression stronger than its parts. This alloy is the sound of three trumpets together. Each sound is personal, each tone unique, waving seamlessly into the tapestry of the band. Alloy, the album, is the alchemy of contrasting voices, creating a new anatomy. And that's what you'll find when you listen to this Dave Douglas album, Alloy.
Yep.
I think our listeners will really appreciate listening to this solid album.
Well,
So I suggest they go listen.
so my question is, where are you getting the what's new picks from? Because it's a banging pick. I don't think I stressed it enough. When you texted it out earlier in the week, I may not have stressed it enough. We're concerned on the final part of the new journey that we're going to pick all the music that we want to hear. And I would not have even known about Dave Douglas. Where are you coming up with it?
Oh yeah,
Are you gonna
top
get
100's over? You're
gonna give us
insight?
Give us our secret. Give us the secret. I almost got it out of Delaney yesterday. She almost let it slip that she was the one feeding you what's new.
Can I really divulge that information to thousands and thousands of people?
Do tell.
One of the reasons I picked this album is because I look for a trumpet player to correspond with Miles, and I'm looking through this list, and I see this Dave Douglas. Hadn't heard of him, and then I'm reading about him, and I'm seeing this 2025 album, which you've suggested you want something new. So that's part of it. I look for something 24, 25, and then I review them. I look them over, and bada bing, bada boom, I come up with this particular album. And good heavens, you're giving me way too much credit. because it's just a matter of hitting a couple keys.
Okay. So it's the Google foo. Then it's the Google foo.
It's like, how would I say? It's like the Pied Piper or something where
Okay.
I'm looking for something. I see these followers and I'm asking them.
He's still not going to tell us where he's coming up with them, Drew.
I just,
That was a smoke and mirrors answer. That was a fluffy stuff.
It was a political answer. I'll show you what's here, but don't ask what's here.
Yeah. That's Wizard of Oz. Just don't look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
it really has been fun and really exciting to come up with something new every week. And when I send them off to you, I'm only hoping that it resonates with you like it does with me.
Huh?
And so far, I guess I'm batting 425 out of 500 or something.
Oh yeah, 495 out of 500 for
Okay.
sure.
Probably 485, 495.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been interesting because, like Christian McBride last week, I don't know that I would have gone to that big band album, especially after hearing the way it opens, but it was Sting. It's Cecile McLaurin Salvant. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm drawn into the album, and next thing you know, you're like, man.
I'm going to play you a D. I'm going to play you a D right now, just because you said the way that it opens. It opens with my favorite, Sting, in the first place.
But that's not what I had to do a double take and go, is this the album I'm supposed to listen to? Or did I just turn on a Sting album? Then you start, it unfolds, and you go, holy cow. My text to Dave Douglas after Dad sent this album out, my text back to Dad was, this is my kind of jam right here.
Yeah.
This is an album that I appreciated greatly.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you liked it. I think our listeners will affirm that this is a rock solid album. Alloy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's just one last thing to do then, and let's talk about our week in music.
I'm going to make mine quick, so I'll start. It has been a great 100 journey. This has been so phenomenal and so much fun to be able to go through this and do this. I continue to do what I've done at the school and continue to do what I've done on Sunday nights and look forward to many more of those. I hope when this comes out, everybody's prepared for a happy, safe Christmas and whatever your celebration for winter might be. Ours will be Christmas and a safe New Year. I'm curious to see where we go for the future. So, y'all tell me about your weeks.
Okay, let me go next, unless you're ready.
Okay.
Last Wednesday night, Kendra and I had the opportunity to go see two different big bands. We went to the Purdue University. It was called the Fire and the Frost. It was a great Christmas program by the Purdue Fort Wayne Jazz Ensemble. Loved every minute of it. Except it wasn't long enough. You know, it was 45 minutes long. And not that I expected a 2-hour concert from college students, but it was 45 minutes. We had to choose between going to see them and going to see Three Rivers Big Band. We chose to go see both because as soon as Purdue was over, we jumped in the car and we drove down and finished, got the second set of Three Rivers Big Band. They did a few Christmas tunes outside of their normal set. So I was very, very happy. We even stuck around after they were done so that we could talk to some of the musicians. Mike Neglia, of course, is a teacher at PFW. He asked me why we were late, and I told him, well, we went to see the Purdue Big Band, and he wanted to know all about it. And I said, your guys were amazing, dude. They knocked it out of the park. I said, if the concert would have been longer, we wouldn't have come to see you. Basically, is what I told him. So I hope he passes that along to all of his students, just how impressed that I was as an unconnoisseur, of course. Lady D used to play in that band anyway. So again, it holds special memories for me, that PFW jazz band. So great performance. That was basically my week in music. We finished decorating the house and we played a lot of Christmas jazz. I did create a jazz radio channel. So if you're interested in going to check out some Christmas jazz while you decorate or have family and friends over, it's WTUR.org/Christmas. We'll play you Christmas jazz.
Excellent. In the description below.
My week in music. Let me say this. 1960 what? 1960 who? 1960 what?
1960 who?
Yes. So I listened to that album. You know, I've compiled a whole long list of what I call smooth music. I listened to tracks number 6 and track 7. There have been nights where I've not been able to sleep. And to go to sleep, I put some of this stuff on. I'm still not sleeping because I'm anticipating who's going to be next. Neil Scone, in particular. I don't have any, but
I'm assuming that Machine Gun is not on that list.
no, Bix is not on the list either. And so, yeah, I'm anticipating what's coming next because there are nights that I just do not sleep. So I've listened to Darlene Scheck on Victor's Crown,
Okay.
which has nothing to do with jazz. Overcome is another one of her pieces, which just brings me to tears every time I listen to those. I watched a video on Joe Morales, a video on the cymbal. I think I sent that video to you guys, and he's just talking about the cymbal. And the guy who's talking about it has the picture or has the actual cymbal on his wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's signed by
Brubeck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Symbol.
Yeah. Plays one.
You said Joe Morales. It's that's Lily Saxon.
Morello.
Joe
Morello. Morello. Yeah, we know Joe Morales.
Yes.
Yeah. I also watched the video with Phil Collins, where he was supposed to talk about the Buddy Rich band. He hardly ever touched anything about connecting with Buddy Rich, but he did talk about his history as a drummer. It was an okay video. So, yeah, today I listened to some tracks that would be maybe some, if we move forward, some tracks that I like. I listen to some of that. So that's basically, besides listening to Miles this week, and besides listening to Dave Douglas, that's been my week in music.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you, you said 1960 what, and we all know who that is. And just so that you're aware that he does have a gorgeous, beautiful, amazing Christmas album out, filled with Christmas tunes. So if
and that would be for the listeners going, what are you guys talking about? That would be none other than Mr. Gregory Porter.
Yes.
And that album was Liquid Spirit. Water. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was Water.
The album Water.
1960 what? 1960 who? 1960 what? Love it. Love it.
2009. Oh, yeah. That was we covered that album a long time ago. 96 weeks ago, we covered that album.
Wow.
This would be a great segue here. As we wrap up the show, we've made it to 1. I can't tell you what we're going to do next week because we don't have a countdown of Jazzwise anymore in front of us. What I can ask, do you suppose that next week we can just look back over these top 100? We don't have to recap them. We will do your 10 for 10, recap the last 10 albums of this week. But next week, can we just chat about this? You know, you throw out 1960 what, and we know this. But how many other moments have taken place that have shaped our jazz listening experience and our personal lives? I think a recap of this 100 would be well deserved.
I agree. So
memory lane, if you will.
So listeners, just like Drew said, we're going to do our 10 for 10. So you'll get that countdown done. But then next week it'll be a shorter episode. This is obviously a very special episode for us because
this is a milestone.
This is a milestone. It's a little bit longer episode, so I appreciate you sticking around in the first place and listening to us jabber on about the music that we love. But yeah, next week will be a shorter episode where we just kind of recap the journey.
So let me, you don't have to answer this question now, but maybe next week. What does it mean for you guys to have reached number one? What impact and how has that, changed your perspective or added something special to your lives as you reach number one? This is outstanding. I don't expect you guys to go to tears over it, but it's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal.
I think we touched on this last week. It's like I'm finally getting out of kindergarten, y'all. It's a milestone. It's impressive, first of all, that 100 episodes we've recorded. But the truth is, we talked about this one back in February. So we have finished the top 100 8 months ago. And to me, that was a pretty big deal. That was emotional because what do you do at that moment? Well, we're recording, so we get to focus on one album at a time. So, Matt, what's your thoughts?
Okay, my thought is that it's a journey from New York to Los Angeles in a car. Okay, yeah, we made that journey. We're in LA now, but now we got to get back to New York. So we got another 100 in us, I bet.
Ooh, can I stop in Kansas City and listen to some of the Kansas City jazz on the way back?
and eat some barbecue?
Yeah.
Well, then I want to go to Memphis and get Rendezvous.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the blues while you're there.
Uh-huh.
Or we can stop Davenport,
Maybe
Iowa.
Maybe more blues than the abstract truth. I don't know.
Stop in Davenport, Iowa. Check out Bix and then head back over to Jeanette for.
I guess what we're saying is we don't really know what's coming up. We don't have our list built yet. A list, our list, the list that we're going to use. Yes, it has been life changing. And again, I said at the beginning of the episode, I'll say it again. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else because, the Tuesday morning conversation hasn't gone away. It's just changed a little bit because when we started, it was one artist. Then when we started recording, it was two artists on Tuesday morning. And then now we're back to one artist, and hopefully we'll be talking about artists that we've never heard of on our Tuesday morning conversation. Like Dave Douglas, and how we have not ever heard about him.
Why not?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. So
good.
Well, so for everybody still listening, thank you for tuning in on a really long podcast this week. But this is a milestone moment. This is a big deal for us to hit number one. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being around for the 100 albums that shook the world. Stay tuned for next week and where we go in the weeks to come. But again, thank you all to the unconnoisseurs and the professionals who have commented about this journey along the way for sticking with us for 100 weeks of this.
Thanks, John Newey. Thanks, John Newey from Jazzwise Magazine, for creating the list in the first place. This again, is our introduction into jazz, and we've loved every single minute of it almost, besides Peter Broadsman. Thank you, Lily.
Team that kept him in check on these top 100.
Thank you, Lily, for the introduction of the magazine to your dad. I want to say thank you to Grace for the awesome artwork that she put together for our channel and the Unconnoisseur. Yeah, I mean, there you go. There you go. Grace, thank you so much for your work on our artwork. We may be asking you to change it. Dad, who are you going to thank?
Oh, thank you guys for allowing me and bringing me into this whole journey. And it's been wonderful. It's been good. Yeah. Challenging, yes, but it's been healthy to have the opportunity to interact with you two and learn more about jazz and more about how professional you are and your background in music. It gives me a greater appreciation for what you have gone through in terms of learning to play 8 years in the Army band. That's pretty outstanding. And Drew, now the last couple of years, you're picking up the trumpet and playing with Joe Morales and granddaughter Lily and the other group of of young musicians. That's outstanding. Congratulations. So I commend you two.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for joining us. You
Yeah.
you put a different perspective on it. If it was just me and Drew, we agree a lot on a whole bunch of the albums. It was funny because I thought for sure there'd be albums where I rated a 6 and he'd rated a 10, and I was so scared of that all the time that I'm gonna let him down with a 6, and then he comes in with the 6.5, and you come in with your own perspective on the music, which I appreciate 100%, and you didn't agree on every album with us, so you brought in a little different perspective. So
Well, you have to have at least one goofball on your team. Thank you.
and if you don't know who that goofball is, it may be you then, right?
Well, we've got a wingnut, a goofball, and a knucklehead, so the trio's complete.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, good. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Hey, see you next week with our countdown, our recap of the top 100.
Yeah, thank
Good.
you guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.